Hi there, Eliane Dakpogan once again, day 9 of my 20-day talk challenge in English. Welcome. Return on investment. Return on investment. Sowing and reaping. You reap what you sow. There is a way to invest, and the way we invest is will determine the way we get the return on our investment. I'd like to talk about return on investment based on the perspective that Myron Golden is teaching. He really spotted it on very well when he talks about be, do, have. And that be, do, have is a clear summary on what sowing and reaping is about. And this be, do, have is very fascinating, and it applies to our life. What does be, do, have stand for? It's a kind of wealth formula. Yes, the thing you should be doing in order to be wealthy, to be rich, financially or in terms of relationship, even spiritually. So, return on investments also stands for sowing and reaping. And sowing and reaping also stands for be, do, have. So, what is that be, do, have? These are three verbs, okay? Three simple verbs that we know in the English language: be, do, have. And to me, these are the most frequently used verbs in the English language. And talking about the English language, we know that the English language comes from the United Kingdom. As I'm speaking English now, and this is a 20-day talk challenge in English, and I'm referring to English now. English comes from the UK, and we all heard the passing of the Queen of the United Kingdom. And may she rests in peace. Yes, we know that without England, the UK, we wouldn't have the English language. The English language is a particular language that we can commonly share, and we can all communicate together. We can all be connected thanks to the English language and share some useful things together as part of this global community. So, return on investment, sowing and reaping, be, do, have. So I added the video of Myron Golden when he talks about it in details. He says things as clearly as possible, but I just want to give my taking on that because this is very useful. What he teaches is very, very useful. It's very, very relevant today in the information age. Okay, these are the types of information that we really need to be bombarded with. So I like to be bombarded with the content that Myron Golden is providing through his YouTube channel, and it's for free. It's very awesome. I mean, you have it for free. And be, do, have is return on investment. Be, do, have. Be stands for identity, do stands for activity, and have stands for property. So Myron Golden explains that we are all focusing on the the property, okay, the have, the having. We have more. I want more money. I want to have. Okay, it's normal. We as normal human being, we should be willing to have more, have more money, have more, you know, friends, have more good stuff, have more time, have more days, have more. But it says that having, that is property, is an output. Let's say it's what you reap. This is the ending. This is not the beginning. So if you look at your life, what you have, what you reap, is what you sowed before. So having is the output of an input, and that input is doing, because you have to be doing something in order to be having something. So what you've done before will determine what you'll get, what you'll have. So you have because you did something. And what you did is your activity. So what you do is your activity. So the kind of activity that you perform will determine the kind of property that you'll have. So property is the output of activity. Having is the output of doing. Having is property. Doing is activity. So he said that we should not be focusing on the output. We want to change something. What we need to change the input, because the output depends on the input. What we have now depends on what we did before. But this is not the end yet, because there is another input. And that time, this is the input for doing, because doing is an output for being. Do is the output for be. Activity is the output of identity. B stands for identity, and identity is the input of activity, doing. So we have to be doing what we need to be doing in order to be having what we need, what we deserve to be having. But before we do what we're supposed to do to have what we're supposed to have, we need to be what we're supposed to be. Our identity. Our identity will determine our activity, and our activity will determine our property. Property is the output of activity, and activity is the output of identity. So the ultimate input that we need is identity. Be, then do, and finally have. This is a particular order. Sometimes it seems like we want to skip one step in this process. It's a step by step process, and it starts from being, then doing, then having. So what should we be focusing on if we want to change our life, if we want to change something? If you want to have more, we should not be focusing on having more. Keep working on having more. Why we didn't change something in the doing? And we cannot change something in the doing unless We change something in the being, in our identity. So consistency in the being, the proper being will lead to the proper doing, and the proper doing will lead to the proper having. You can't be having what you're not deserving, and what you're not deserving of having depends on what you've not been doing. And if you've not been doing what you were supposed to be doing, it's because you've not being what you were supposed to be being. You have to be first to be qualified to do, and then that automatically qualifies you to have. That's a return on investment. Investments is what you do to have, but you are able to do what you are doing because you are the right person. You have the right identity. You are being what you want. You are supposed to be, to do what you are supposed to do, and to have what you are supposed to have. And these are very powerful words. Thank you, Myron Golden, for pointing this out. We really need to hear those stuff, okay? There's too much distraction nowadays. We are being distracted and not being focusing on what we should be focusing to change our life. We are focusing on having, and we see things not changing and we are surprised. Things can change only if we focus on the right input. We need to change the input. So we have two inputs here: be and do. How can we change our identity in order to do the right activity and have the right property? Because you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. It's not the other way around. You can't be reaping what you didn't sow. You sow and then you reap. It's not you reap and then you sow. No. What you do first is sowing, and then you reap. There is a particular order that we need to follow. How can we, let's say, sow the right identity in order to reap the right activity? And how can we sow the right activity in order to reap the right property? Ultimately, how can we sow the right identity and reap the right property? It starts from the identity and it ends with the property. We all want the property, we all want to have, but we have to think of being first, changing our identity first. How should we change our identity? What do we need to change in our identity? So Myron Golden explains that we need to be intentional. We change our identity with intentionality. We need to be willing to be who we need to be in order to do what we need to do in order to have what we need to have. First, having the right identity. So if there's something that we want to have first, that we should be craving to having, is having the right identity. That's what we should be focusing on first. We should be intentional. And intentionality means we are not victims, but we are actors. We take action in our life. We decide to be this person. I want to be successful. I decide to be a successful person. People usually say fake it until you have it. Okay, it's just a phrase to say that, okay, you have to try to kind of pretend to be what you want to be until you really get used to that pretending what you want to be, and eventually becoming that type of person. But you gotta be serious about it. Who am I? I am this type of person. Then when I say I am this type of person, I decide to be this type of person. And this type of person does this type of things. And how we change our activity, Myron Golden says that we change our activity with ingenuity. Yes, because as you have the right identity, you will be automatically doing the right things. When you keep doing something, when it's not working, then you change. You do something else. Then you take massive action. You act massively. You do, then you change. You do, then you change until you find the right activity for you to succeed. So it's not just copying and pasting what others are doing. Others are doing things related to their own identity. So just willing to do what I want to do won't be enough. I have to do what is consistent with my being. And if I want more, I want to do more because I want to have more, then I have to be more. Be more, do more, have more. So you keep changing, chasing the right formula for you. And when you have ingenuity, you kind of become like, inspired to do the right things. Kind of like you become smarter. You know what you need to be doing at certain stages, and you do those things like you're like you're on fire, and doing what you're supposed to be doing, finding the right formula for you. This is investing. You do the right investment. And after investing for a long period of time, after investing a lot, now you can have a return on your investment. You can have. And how do we have more? Is by seizing the right opportunities. Because we've been having ingenuity in the activities that we were performing, and that led us progressively to having more. Having more meaning by seizing the right opportunities. Ingenuity, opportunities. So in identity, we have the intentionality. We are intentional. Then in do, in activity, we have ingenuity. We get that genius mind to do the right things. And finally, in having, we have property, because we have this ability to seize the right opportunity. So just watch Myron Golden's video. Yes, in the description below. The link is in the description. Watch it. So this was my take on it. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. See you tomorrow. Bye.